Hey guys, Wheatywaffle here today, and this week we're starting things off with a highway build time lapse. The time lapse goes till just over 7 minutes, so if you want to skip ahead, I have the chapters linked in the description. You can just move that cursor right along to the next chapter, and I'll review everything I build here in the time lapse in real time. But this week, I wanted to focus on getting this highway in place before we did too much more development. I also think it'll be a nice way to kind of define the ends of certain neighborhoods. But in typical highway building, at least in the eastern part of the United States where I live, when I-95 and some of those other highways were built, they just plowed right through neighborhoods and separated neighborhoods into pieces, destroying houses, buying out land. And I didn't want to do that with our city this small. In the future, when we've got 50, 60, 70, 100,000 people, I'll have no issue bulldozing a neighborhood to build road infrastructure. But right now, with only 15,000 people and our budget still being a bit dicey, I didn't want to build something that would destroy some of the tax base that we have. This highway tries to leverage some of the natural typography that we already have in this build, and I purposefully tried to build it with minimal destruction to zoning that's already in place. There is some industrial buildings that I do have to move or just bulldoze over to build out some additional road infrastructure, but for the most part, I don't think I destroyed any houses or any businesses to make this highway a reality. And some of this was a happy accident. I didn't really plan to put the highway here when I first started the series. As our road network has grown, I've kind of been able to envision where that highway would go, and this just seemed like the right place for it. So I'm gonna let you guys enjoy the next few minutes. There's like 5 minutes left, I think, of this time lapse. I built a few highway junctions, some on and off ramps, as well as do a little bit of road upgrading, and then we'll review the rest of this build in the live play around the 7-minute mark. Okay, and here is the brand new highway system we've got. I didn't do it a whole ton, but I did give it a little bit of detailing, which we'll go through really quickly. You enter in and you've got this initial interchange. I wanted to do my best to keep people from crossing over other traffic. So it's a little lopsided, but it's so far doing the job. And I'm trying to future-proof some of this as much as possible. And we know this area is going to get larger. So I felt like one interchange into the city was no longer enough. If you come down this way, we do have an entrance and exit on the left side here, and then we also have an exit on the right side. There's no way to enter the highway from this set of interchanges, but the next one is so close that I didn't think that was too much of a big deal. You'll notice I did some rock work along the walls as well. I have been trying to figure out what I want to do here. The rock work, it looks good. I will say it might be a bit unrealistic to have just like huge boulders sticking out like this. I added in a retaining wall and it just looked strange. So for now, this is what we're working with. If you guys have a better suggestion, please let me know. I do really love the rock work around the transition from a flat ground level road into a bridge, but I don't know if it works as well along the sides here. And then we have this other interchange. This is functioning for now. I do think this interchange may need to have some changes as our city continues to grow. But at the moment, we've got a 2-lane highway that comes in. I don't have access to anything past this corner here. Oh my gosh, look at all the homeless people leaving. I gotta address that. Unlike the mistake I made in our last city, I made sure to make this highway 2 separate 2-lane one-way directions versus having one kind of unit of road that we could only upgrade so far. This gives us infinite upgrade opportunities here, which is really great. And then I just bridged over this section of the industrial road into our downtown area, as well as added this pedestrian overpass, which gets a ton of use, which is amazing. I mean, if you look down there, it's all people. We love to see it. But I didn't want people walking along this main avenue here. So I'm trying to limit that as much as possible, and it seems to be working for the time being. Other things that I did off camera, you'll notice we've got a bit more money here. That's coming from a few things. One, I added in an ore mine over here, which has been really, really useful and also helps a lot with some of the jobs. But the big thing I did, and I got to give a huge shout out to Sunny Scunny. I was watching one of their videos and they were talking about balancing the budget, and one of the ways to do that in terms of taxation is charge the different industries up until the point that the industries will no longer accept that tax rate. And they said the best way to figure that out is not by clicking around on different businesses and seeing how they're doing, but the best way is to go to your city statistics tab. And if you scroll down to wealth, and you check on industries, you'll see industry wealth. It shows us all the different industries and the money that they're making. So if we go to a time scale of 6 months, right around here was where I started messing with the taxes. So we're going to see if this holds in the long term. But if we look specifically at vegetables, you'll see that vegetables, ever since we built our farms over in Pinewood Acres, vegetables have been profitable and on the rise, almost breaking $1 million worth of income. And so the wealth is continuing to grow. So as the wealth grows, we can increase the taxes for that industry, and it's not going to impact the bottom line of the industry too much because they're still seeing growth. Right around here is where I implemented the taxes, I believe. It was sometime in winter, and then I just let it run for a little bit to make sure that things were working okay. And they're still seeing growth. So if that continues, we'll slowly keep bumping up the taxation specifically on vegetables. So you'll see vegetables are at 16%. And for some other industries, like a great example, beverages I've reduced to 8%. And part of the reason for that is that beverage wealth plummeted for some reason. This was before the taxes took place. The taxes took place around here. And then as the wealth started to grow, I noticed they're actually on a bit of a decline. So if you change your timescale view, this gives you one view of things if you go to 6 months. I think a year is fine, but that's not really helping me learn anything. But on a 6-month scale, I can see the overall picture of a particular industry. And then if I reduce it to 1 month, I can see the impact that my changes are having on the particular industry itself. So huge shout out to Sunny Scunny for that. If you haven't checked out their channel, I've linked them in the description below. But that changed the game in terms of us being profitable. So you'll now notice we're actually finally making some money. If we go to a 1-year view, this is where we started back in the beginning of the game, and now we're finally on the upswing. So I think we're seeing some progress here. Let's go ahead and unpause. We're still having a lot of crime in the city. We're going to keep it on 1-time speed for the moment. I also made some changes to our commercial and office taxes. So you're seeing we have a lot of demand for some offices, which is great news. But I think the first thing we need to address is if we check out our population panel, you'll see that 37.4% of our people are unemployed, which is part of what's causing some of the people leaving. Some of that's also related to the fact there's not enough houses, but a lot of it I think is connected to people realizing that there's nowhere for them to live. I want to give this area just a little bit more zoning, and I want to upscale some of the zoning that's here. What we'll do is I'm going to go ahead and upgrade all of these into row homes. But actually, before we do that, let's actually limit where this is going. I want you guys facing the inside. So whatever that means for you, just put the houses facing the inside. There we go. And we can go ahead and just remove these guys that no longer can zone here. Now let's remove this key wall zoning we placed down. And now let's expand out this area just a little bit more while we're trying to address some of these demand issues. I'm thinking because it's relatively flat, we could probably get away with one more block and not see too much impact on the land. So let's go ahead and do that. And then we have these kind of alleyway roads that we had started over here in Horsham Flats. I think I'm going to replicate that, but I'm going to do the end of those road networks and just create a little bit of a different structure over here. I like having these alleys. I know it doesn't work great in terms of parking for the row homes, but I think it just adds something unique to this area. Let's set it so the zonings all along Butler Lane and your backyards are facing the highway. And this one we'll leave just like that. Okay, so for here, all of this is going to be very large row homes in terms of lot size. And that's actually addressing a lot of those demands there. Let's go ahead and do a little bit of French low-income housing. I think we'll just do one here because we know it's going to look beautimous. And then should we do a larger one here? It came in as 2 units, which I don't love. I'd love to see a bigger unit if possible. That's all we're going to get. Okay. Quickly pause this. Let's change this around then. Let's upgrade this side here. Make this whole thing one larger piece. There we go. Okay, let's remove all this blockage that we have. We've limited enough zoning. Let's undo some of those changes. And then I think we need to start addressing some of the demand we have for offices. Or for businesses. So I'm going to put a strip of business right here along this road Do you think we'll be able to get that piece zoned in? I don't know if we can. We're still making money, which is great. So let's just leave that be for now. We might actually sneak a little park in there. And I do think we could also entertain getting a office over here. That might be valuable as well. Let's put an office right there. Remove that zoning. We can even put a little set of trees back here. We're going to do... Can we fit an oak anywhere? Ooh, hold on. We can fit an oak there. And then we can also do maybe a little bit of tree coverage over here. And then this area does have a number of spruce trees. So I think we want to continue that as much as we can. There we go. So now we're getting a new little area here built out that's going to give us a bit more population, which is great. We're in desperate need of some offices, but we also could use some more low density. So for the time being, I'm going to say, let's just fill in this whole area with low density. Let them fill in, let them do their thing. Eventually this all might change, but for now, this is going to be low density. We'll send this road straight on out from here. Bring it to there, and then let's go ahead and give it a little cul-de-sac. And a medium cul-de-sac, does that give me a little bit different zoning? It does. I like that. I like that. Okay, this is also going to get some low density. This is going to provide us with some future low density housing. So at the moment, I don't know if we necessarily need this housing, but we will want it as things continue to grow. I think I might want to come through and find another tile to purchase. So let's look at our natural resources. I'm thinking if we were to purchase this tile, we would get a huge chunk of possible ore. We could also do something here as well. Over here, we've got some farmland, and we already have a road connected here. So farmland could work nicely right there. There's really not more farmland we can connect to in this area. So I'd say, what would it cost to buy these two? Tile upkeep, $29,000 a month. Let's do it. And now let's try to get a few more roads over in this area just to inform what this is going to look like. I think we're going to bring this out straight a little bit. Give it a small little curve here. And just follow the contour lines for the most part. Over here, we have a relatively flat area, which is great. So let's take this out here. And I think what we might do, double check this natural resource. Yeah, right in this section, we could get away with like maybe a square of commercial, or excuse me, a grid of buildings. If we were to come in like this, just give me a small square there. And I would like to also see, I think, this connect up to this area. So let's bring up that natural resource panel. And let's try to thread this through here as much as possible. There we go. Okay, I like that. This is all going to end up being high density in the long run. And then I think that high density is going to really continue down this way. This area is perfectly flat. Eventually these farms are going to have to go and we're going to find a new place for them to be. But for now, we might as well leverage everything we can in this area. Can't do oil drilling just yet. I would like to maybe get rid of this ore mine. And I wonder if it's going to be as simple as I can just move it. Can I? No, I can't. Oh, I'd love to move this. All right, we're going to build a new one over here after we use up the natural resources. So let's go ahead and grab a coal mine. And let's go ahead and get this zoned up in here. Let's turn all of our snap 2s on. I'm going to leave a little bit of space here for other types of buildings. We will place this maybe up to here. Let's turn off the angle snap. Okay, we have a new coal mine over here. So now we have 2 of them, which is great. I am going to see if we can expand this one just a little bit since there's nothing else that can be zoned in this area. There's no reason not to fill this whole edge in. Since these are free, we might as well get our bang for our buck. Let's place a ore mining facility over here. Although I don't want it to impact that road. So we're just going to send this straight on up here like this. Send it over here at the 90. Then we're going to turn everything off. And we're going to kind of cut down this central area here up till we maybe go into the 4th line. Turn all of our snap 2s back on. Reconnect that back up. Now we've got some room here to put some additional buildings. I will say I could get into doing just a line of industrial over here. There's a ton of industrial buildings that would benefit from being this close to these types of industries. So that's going to fill out nicely. And then I do think we're going to do this. We're going to come over here, fill in all of this with industry, and then delete these old buildings. Let's really get that area zoned out. All right, so now we've got our parking lot in here, the Vermont Street small parking lot. Let's just throw in a little bit of a surface here. I think a little concrete texture in this area would look very nice. And in some way, it's going to function as kind of the back alley for this area. Okay, so I gave a little bit of detailing behind here. It's just kind of a big alleyway that's got some trash. A few tents are back here. Just a few little pieces here and there, but nothing too crazy. But now we've got a little bit more structure to this section here. It does look like all 3 of these zones are fully employed, which is great. Let's see if that has helped at all with our unemployment. All right, unemployment is now down to 36. Let's go ahead and add in a few office buildings in here. Give this a little bit more industrial zoning. I'm actually going to just do a big swath of industrial, I think, throughout the whole thing. Why not? This is becoming a pretty large industrial sector. It's going to require we make some adjustments to our access, which I think we should do that probably sooner rather than later. Let's go ahead and move this parking garage. I only want to have to move this once, so I'm going to move this off of the main road, but along this side street here. And then all of these buildings, I think we're going to have to say goodbye to. Let's upgrade this to, I think this was a 4-lane. Yeah, it's a 4-lane road. Remove all of this. We're going to just have to demolish a few things. Sorry, everybody. It has to happen for progress. Although I honestly don't feel that bad because, like, that's the whole point of this series. And then let's see. Oh, my goodness. How are we going to get this up here? Let's do a winding road. Because I want to be mindful of this grade change that we're dealing with. It's only going up +9, though, which is not too bad. And then if we sent this straight on in at the 180, I would actually rather it come out from here. Now, that does give us a little bit of extra space to begin to do a bit of upzoning, but let's check out how we're doing on our finances. We got 162,000 monthly balance coming in, which is great. We are increasing our service trade a bit, and so it might be valuable to consider a new form of electricity. If we come over here, we can still not afford the gas power plant. We need $650,000 to do that. So I think what we do for now is we consider building a second one of these. They cost us $113,000 a month, but we could build a second one of these power plants and be able to export some of this extra production. Now, one thing to be mindful of, the pollution that comes from these power plants is insane. And one way that you can tell, besides looking at this air pollution, is if you look at natural resources, look at all the trees. All of the trees are green. They're ready to be chopped down. But if you come over to this area where there's all this pollution, none of these trees have any wood in them. I think what I want to do is I want to build out a new power station over here in this new industrial zone. But first, I think we could get more use out of this landfill if we rotated it along the main road. So let's do this. Let's get rid of Amity Street. And I'm actually just going to bulldoze the entire landfill. What I want to do instead is I want to have a little bit of a bump out road that comes out. We'll go up here to maybe 2 tiles. Go over 2 tiles. We'll go straight for a little bit. And we'll go 2 tiles and 2 tiles. So now we've got a little bit of a bump out, Birdsong Lane. And on Birdsong Lane is where we're going to build our updated and bigger and better landfill. Now I'm going to try to build this in such a way that we get to leverage all of this space. Let's turn all of this off. And we're even going to curve it along this edge here. Send it straight on over. We'll send it to here, and then what we can do is we can edit it a little bit further. Let's grab this guy and just go like this. There we go. All right, so now we've got Birdsong Lane. It can hold 1,280 tons, which is comparable to what we're doing over here, which is 1,826 tons. 72 of 100 tons a month. This is 0 of 100 tons a month. This hasn't actually started up yet. How many people work here? 30 employees. Fantastic. Now what we can do is we can think about a few things. I would say it may be worth our while to support this main road here without having too much traffic on it. What if we move this zoning back just enough to get that third row there? There we go. Then we take a alleyway. We send the alley all the way down and around, just like this. Now what we can do is we can re-edit this zoning and bump it right back up onto Hemlock Lane. Just like so. We'll send this out to here. That'll be fine for now. And then what we can do is we can limit any zoning going onto Vermont Street with a key wall and fill in a bit more industrial right here in here along Hemlock Lane. Great, so we got a little bit more there. This is working pretty nicely. I'd love to have a larger-ish roundabout over here. Can we make that happen? We can't even do a medium. All right, we could fit a small. Let's do a small for now. We might need to change this and maybe do a little bit of shifting. It might even make more sense to move this mining hub over to this other end. But for now, that would be just fine. And then let's also just sneak in a little road here. It's overlapping the other object, but if we turn everything off except for snap to sides of building, which doesn't seem to have done anything, we can sneak this in there just like so. Cedar Street has now been extended. Okay, with all that, I think it's time to place a new power plant over here. That's going to significantly help our power consumption. We are trading 113,000, which is essentially the cost of a new power station, but will produce more than we actually need and can sell off the excess. Over here is actually decent zoning, so I think the power station might need to go over this direction. Let's come over here, place down this road, go to power plants, grab another small coal power plant for $100,000. It's going to be right over this aquifer. Not ideal, but you got to do what you got to do. And we're getting close to water availability reaching its end. So what I want to look at now, our water pumping station costs $4,000 a month with water output of $100,000. I have heard that these produce a little bit more trash than they really should. What would this upgrade give us? An additional pump significantly increasing the water intake and delivery capacity. It would increase the output by $50,000 a month. But the upkeep is $3,500 a month. I guess the one benefit to that is that it would be unlikely to make a significant change to the wages, since I don't know if this upgrade would require we hire more people. Whereas if we build a brand new water pump, we still have to take in the cost of wages. Let's see what this does in terms of our number of employees. We can bring in 4 more employees here. It would bring the wages up to $21,000, meaning this unit alone costs $28,000 a month. You don't have any power. Ooh, that is not good. We do need power. I don't know if we can sneak this through here. I guess we could put a transformer station kind of right next to it, and then just connect these two together. That could work. So now electricity availability 48,000. We're consuming 36. We are now exporting 12 megawatts. That means our trade has gone to 0, and our service trade now here has gone up to 32,000, further bolstering this budget. Okay, let's do a quick little check on a few of our statistics here. Our people, 25.7% of them are still unemployed. I think what that means is that we're going to do a little bit of upscaling here, but we're going to upscale with the mixed housing. So the mixed housing has both residential and commercial buildings in there, and I think that's going to help us a lot with increasing our overall productivity. So right here we've got 21 employees at Wingbacks. This actually used to be a pharmacy, and I really appreciate that building in general. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to come over here and rezone the other half of this area with some mixed use housing. And I think we could also think about potentially upzoning some other commercial somewhere else. Where do we have commercial buildings? We have a few over here, as well as a few offices. I think really we could do all of this upzoned. Did this take? No, these are still disappearing. I'm going to go ahead and just spur this development real quick. See what we get. We get a few buildings in there. I did do a few mixed use of the modern or the urban promenade. These are okay. They're not my favorite, but they work. And maybe what we do is we also go ahead and upzone. Do we have any other just single family homes kind of hiding in here? We've got some over here that I think we could get rid of. Although we don't need any more medium density. So maybe what we do is we expand out and give a little bit of office over in this area. Now, this little tiny house, 123 Middle Street. Wait a minute, is Middle Street the one that just is now, is it wrapping all the way around? This is Middle Street. What is this street? Also Middle Street. That's horrendously confusing. I like that one being called Middle Street. Oh, Benjamin Robbins. This is going to be Robbins Avenue. And we have Robbins Avenue going all the way up into the industrial areas. I like that it does connect both industrial areas and it has a highway connection, which is fantastic. So let's come over here. And I think what we'll do is we're going to protect this house here. They said, we are never selling. Get out of our way. There's no way we will move. Ever. So what we're going to do is we're going to build a little path all the way around their home so that we don't end up accidentally building something there. And then I want to place just a bit of office right here to support this area. What are these guys? These are low rent housing. I mean, they have a lot of residents, 180 households, 280 residents. And I will also note, it just made me think of something. Household wealth is beginning to rise. We have some comfortable houses. We don't really have many wealthy homes, but we're starting to see some wealth accumulate here in the center. And then there's a few families over here who are seeing some growth as well. All right. I think the last thing I want to try to accomplish, we're making a decent amount of money. We already have a suburb here with Elizabeth Crossing. And I think it could be valuable to have some type of suburb maybe here, or we could maybe buy out this adjacent area to Elizabeth Crossing. Let's look at our zoning here. Yeah, it's pretty flat. So I think, why don't we go ahead and buy out this area? Is that what we want to do? I want to work my way towards the coast as much as possible. Let's just do a little bit of thinking here. More likely than not, let's keep the contour lines up. More likely than not, this central city is going to continue to expand. It's probably going to mean that in the future, we fully redevelop Pinewood Acres and maybe parts of Elizabeth Crossing, but we've already kind of set Elizabeth Crossing up for success here. We have a grid system that we could remove these roads and tie in that grid system to the rest of this city. So I don't think there's going to be a ton of redevelopment on this half of Elizabeth Crossing. What we could think about doing is we could purchase this tile here, build in another highway entrance and exit, and begin to do a little bit more grid here. So like the city is slowly moving this way. And then the main heart of the downtown could be focused both in this plateau as well as in this area with sprawling suburbs all around. If that's the case, I think that this area here could be a prime place for us to do a little bit more zoning that would be loosely gridded base, but more likely than not, it's just going to end up being suburbs, a little bit of sprawl. So I say we're making more than enough money now. A lot of that's coming because of our service trade. Let's go ahead and buy out this additional tile. It's going to cost us $18,000 a month. Fine with me. And we're really like hitting it kind of tight on the money there. So I'm probably going to need to let this just sit and run for a bit. But before we do that, let's build out some roads and let's see what we can come up with. I've expanded out Briarwood Downs to now incorporate this new gridded area. Oh, I did forget to include one little cul-de-sac there. And then Elizabeth Crossing has just been reworked slightly so that it fits in a bit better. I placed in a number of low-density zonings over there, and it looks like we actually do have a bit of demand for some more. Let's go ahead and just do this. We're going to fill these 2 blocks with low density as well as this area here with some low density. There we go. So now that's going to solve that demand there. We do still have some demand for offices. So I think what we'll do is we'll go ahead and fill this street here with some additional office buildings, as well as I think we could get away with a little bit of office here in Dickinson. Let's do like maybe 1 office and 1 commercial building just to kind of satisfy this neighborhood, Dickinson Narrows. Bedford Meadows. We do have a little space behind the high school here, which also we've got to start thinking about what we're doing with our high schools and our education in general. For the moment, I think we're still kind of in that space where we can do whatever we want. It's fine, but soon we're gonna have to make some changes. And I will say now we're at a place where these houses here are a little bit too tall to be next to these single family homes. Even if these houses are level 2, actually they're mainly level 2 or 1. I feel nothing for these homes. So let's go ahead and replace those. We are gonna do some beautiful, absolutely gorgeous row homes. A little bit larger backyards than in other areas of the city. I am super into that. That's fine with me. We're growing. That's great. And then I think what we're going to do is we're going to force some zoning down this way. Let's go ahead and grab, I think, all of this. And then all at once, we're going to just delete these 4 houses. Let's see what comes in. Okay, a few different size buildings. They actually left a perfect little path. So we'll go ahead and place that pathway there. And I think we could also do we want to do a little bit more residential? Just a touch? A sprinkle? I don't know if we need it. I think if anything, we need more offices. And that's partially because offices, we've got a huge tax cut on offices because we were getting no offices before. So now let's take a little look and see how our offices are doing, because we want to keep the, oh my gosh, look at the I started building and then boom. We want to keep the offices under control. So if we come down here to wealth We go to office wealth. We can see we've got 4 different kinds of offices. So let's start with the financial wealth. Financial companies are still not doing well in our city at all. On a 1-year time scale, and even if you come up to the 1-month time scale, they're just doing terrible. I think a lot of that probably connects to education. So I'm probably going to let this game run a little bit so that we can start getting some of that wealth generated. And then we can consider building out some more schools and start taking care of our citizens from that respect. Software companies are starting to see an increase in their wealth. And in fact, they're really starting to generate a lot of money here. We're over nearly $3 million in wealth. So I'd say right off the bat, let's come in here. Software companies, let's bump them up 2% to 13% tax. Telecommunication companies also generating wealth. They have more wealth generated. Wow. They got more wealth generation than the software companies. So we're going to take the taxes for those guys. What was that one? That was, I've already forgotten. Telecommunications. So let's go over to city economy, taxation. Telecommunications, they're going to get a 3% tax increase. And then if we go look at media company wealth, they're still terribly, terribly in the negative. So let's just confirm that media and finance, yeah, they're both pretty low. I might even go ahead and just give them an additional tax break, subsidize some of that a little bit for them, just so we can start generating some wealth from those industries. The last thing I think we're going to do, we're making close to $300,000 a month. I'm going to speed it up to 2 times speed. And what we can do now is our biggest complaint from our citizens is unreliable mail service. So I think we need to address the communications side of our city. But first, we've reached milestone 8. We unlocked $200,000. We unlocked progression points, and we unlocked some more land points. There's nothing I really need from here. UK City Apartments. Ooh, we might actually build that. We got EU high density and a high density for North America, as well as UK high density. This is great. An increased loan limit, which we love to see. And then our next town is where we're going to start getting that high density commercial, followed by high density office. Oh, okay. And then I think after that, isn't it just loan limits ever since then? Yeah. Soon we're going to have to start thinking about our public transit, because at the moment we've got 15 points to spend and I have absolutely no idea how to spend them. I would like to buy this larger coal power plant though, and let's get a sense of what that can do. And I think we probably want to look at getting some more shelters and things, but until we get this money a bit more in the positive, we can't do that just yet. So post. It's dreadful. It's absolutely horrendous. We've got $353,000. Before we do anything with post, it costs $1 million to build the coal power plant. And it's going to cost a decent amount of money to run this guy. But it makes 300 megawatts. So we would be offsetting a ton of that through exports. Right now, we only consume 37. So we might be a little bit away off from this. We only consume 1/10 of what this guy can produce, but I could see us cutting the budget on power significantly and still having enough to sell out to the other neighboring communities. So I think maybe what we'll do in the next part is see if we can get enough money to build the coal power plant. But first, our biggest complaint from our citizens is unreliable mail service, and I'd like to try to address that. A small post office costs $75,000 with a $7,500 monthly upkeep, not including wages or other taxes. So if I were to build one of these, what would it satisfy? Post office, we could build one for $250,000, and it would satisfy a huge chunk of the downtown. But I think we could probably get away with doing just 2 small post offices and seeing what that does for us. Now our money has adjusted a bit. We still have 300,000. You know, the arrows changed, but I think all around we're doing okay. Let's build 2 of these small post offices. I'm going to place one over here kind of in the heart of the downtown area. I want to place it along this road, but right here. Yes, there we go. All right, so we're placing this right here next to Summit Lane. We now have a small post office All in, once we get some people in here, it costs $18,000 a month to run this building. We'll let that run for a bit and see how that does. In the meantime, we could also consider building out mailboxes. This is going to give us a little bit more bonus, not a ton. I want to focus these around other buildings that people are walking to. So for example, we have a high school right here. I think if we placed one along Garland Street, it's close to the high school, which is great. Over here, we have a parking lot as well as the closed cathedral at the moment. We have an elementary school over here, so we could place one on Green Street. And then I think back this way, we're pretty much covered here, but we could place one over here by this set of businesses as well as by the parking lot. The industrial zone, I'm not going to do one over there, but over in this area, we will place one just kind of right in the center of the industrial zone. And then over here in Elizabeth Crossing, we'll also place one, I think, close to the elementary school. This area, you can't have that much mail you need to send, so I'm not going to worry about that too much. Let's go ahead and just wrap up today's episode by building out a few of these unique buildings. The UK Executive Mansion, it gives us +2 well-being within 500 meters. Because this area here is all residential, I think what we could do is we could build this over in this area. Oh, we already have, I moved those shops over here. We could build this maybe back here somewhere. Tuck it away deep in this area. I know it's not going to give the biggest benefit by being back here, but it's one of those buildings that needs to be at the end of a long road. I think it just looks really nice in a place like that. This guy, +3 well-being within 750 meters. I think we could probably stick this somewhere here in the downtown. Let's place it right here. I think that could look kind of nice. Let's also look at placing down the UK City Apartments +4 well-being within 1 kilometer. Now this looks pretty similar to some of the other buildings, but it does have a much larger footprint. Maybe we do this a little bit on the outskirts and start to see that density increase over this way maybe. Maybe this goes right here along Lafayette Street. It's going to ruin some of the homes that are here, but I think that's okay for now. And if we come in here and we remove this excess zoning, that's okay with me. This holds up to 136 households. So I think that being placed there is great and starts to move that height a little bit further south. Under mixed residential signature buildings, we do have a cafe. I would say I'd like this to be in a place that needs a corner, but I don't know if any of these need a corner building. Why don't we put it right here on this corner? It's a little bit different than our other buildings, but it gives us a little something to work with. And I think what we could do is we could neighbor that building with, but it has this strange little alley here. Let's neighbor that with a mixed use building there, as well as an additional mixed use building here. And then let's just go ahead and delete all the residents who live there. This is now going to hold 32 households. This will hold 24. That is good with me. Any other commercial buildings we want to build? I don't want to place all these in one place, so I'm going to hold on most of these guys. We do have some petrol stations, which I think having a petrol station in the downtown could be valuable. I think over here in this predominantly residential neighborhood, we'll place this here. It allows for all these people to have a place to go and visit, which will be great. But now we've gotten into a better spot here. Things are looking up, to be honest. I'm really excited about how some of this is going. All around, I think this looks pretty good. We've done a bit of expansion. We're now at almost 18,000 people. Our finances are doing better. I'm not going to say they're in control just yet, because as we've learned, there's no such thing as having your finances in control in City Skylines. But what I want to do is I want to let this run a little bit just to get us over, I'd say, $650,000, which at the rate we're moving up, that shouldn't take all too long. And then in the next part, I think I want to consider turning back on the police station, because I think crime is going to start to be a problem here. And I want to look into potentially fixing some of the education, as well as zoning out the rest of Briarwood and Middle Peak. But until then, guys, I think that's where we're going to leave this part here. So thanks so much for watching, and I will see you all in the next one.